Okay, so I am not in the greatest of moods at the moment. And the reason for that is I have spent all day today watching a whole bunch of videos and reading a whole bunch of articles about how to build reusable components in Godot. Object pooling is not reusable components. Scene instancing is not reusable components. And if it takes 12 minutes of watching your fucking video to learn that you're talking about one of these two things, fuck you. I would take my watch time back if I could. When I talk about a reusable component, what I mean is I have been working on this game and I built a thing, and that thing is really cool. And I want to use it in this other game that I've started building. I want to take the component in this game and put it into that game, and it just fucking works. This has apparently never occurred to anyone who is making Godot tutorial content. And I am compelled to wonder, are Dave Farley and Uncle Bob the only two people on YouTube who know how to fucking write software? Jonathan Blow sometimes. Sometimes Jonathan Blow will spend like 5 minutes not being a fucking lunatic, but typically, especially in his longer videos, all he talks about is how everybody's a fucking idiot who doesn't know how. God damn it. Out of all the worlds and all of the realities, why do I have to end up in one where Jonathan Blow is fucking right? I swear to God. So I don't know if this shit is going to work. This is what I have come up with after sitting around and going, no, that's not how it works. That's not how anything works. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm upset. I'm annoyed because I am using an established term from the world of software engineering that means take the component and move it to another program. And everybody's like, oh, here's how you make several of the same component in one program. But here's how you allocate a whole bunch of a component and then just enable and disable them to speed up access and avoid constant memory allocation and thrashing of your storage media. I swear to fucking God, okay? I mean, I'm just... These are not what reusable components are. Reusable components go from one program to the next, to the next, to the next. And you evolve them and you bring them back. You take the component out of this game and you put it in that game. And now that it's in that game, you find some stuff that you want to add to it and you make it better. And now you pull it out of that game and you put it back in this game. And now this game has all the cool shit. Now, ideally, you update the component in one place and it's automatically updated in everything. I don't know how to fucking do that. But what I have kind of sort of come up with is, as you use a folder, I think you make a folder that you name after your component, and then inside of that folder you put a scene that has the partial node tree representing your component, and any script that you attach to the component or any of the nodes, it goes in that folder. And any sprites, fonts, resources, any material whatsoever that needs to go with that component so it will work, you put all of that in the folder. And I think, theoretically, I have not tried this. I'm going to be experimenting with it in the coming week. But I think if you do that, then you'll be able to open up the Explorer and browse to the folder you created in the game that you already made. I think you'll be able to grab that folder, drag it into the tree view on Godot for the file views, and Godot will create that folder and import a copy of every resource in the folder to your project. And I think if you use sound engineering principles and you pay attention to your context and your dependencies, like you do, I think the component in the new project should just fucking work. I think that should do it. I don't know if it does. I haven't tried it yet. And I don't want to try it live on video because I'm really fucking annoyed. And I don't want to have a fucking meltdown. And also I don't, I didn't do any art this week. So I got to do some art today. Oh, I haven't mentioned yet. I'm Caliban Darklog. This is showing up. It's Saturday night. This is what we do here. I showed up. Do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. But we're gonna do some. We're gonna do some art, and I want to talk about. I want to talk about some general principles that I feel like people have lost track of because they're weak and stupid and lazy. I'm really down on people right now, like especially people that are making tutorial content on the internet. I'm full on immersed in a bath of misanthropy. I really am not happy with humanity at the present moment. Dave and Bob are cool. Well, Bob's kind of a bigot, but he's old. It's hard not to be a bigot when you're old because it's just, I mean, I was raised in the 70s. And in the 1970s, we were just racist as fuck all the time. Like, it was just, and part of that was my family, and part of that was the places that I lived and the people that I hung out with. But it's like, it was just all racism all the time, and you didn't know any fucking better because you were a kid. So, you know, now I walk around and I'm like, man, literally none of the shit we did on a daily basis in the 70s would fly. Because it's fucking, people will do like this little tiny thing. I look at that and they go, wow, 50 years ago, I wouldn't have thought twice about that. But you're supposed to learn and you're supposed to grow. And the problem is that a lot of people, when they get to a certain age, and that age is usually over 30, used to be over 40, but a lot of people in their 30s have just stopped learning anything and now they're fucking idiots. there's a point in a lot of people's lives where they just stop learning how to be better people. They stop caring about it. And, you know, they'll just say shit. And you sit there and you shake your head and you're like, they still make you? And no, they don't. They haven't recycled this one yet. And the shitty part is all that stuff is still in there. It's like, people say, I used to be racist, but now I'm not. Yeah, you are, because if you used to be racist, that racism is still in the back of your head. And every time you start to let something come out of your mouth, you got to put it through a filter that goes, that didn't come out of the racist part of your head, did it? And you always have to do that because so much of that racist bullshit is in your head and it's in the back there and it's like sitting there going, and in these moments when you least expect it, it'll just fart out some racism. And then people look at you funny and you're like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have said that. And at some point in your life, you're supposed to look at your life and you're supposed to go, well, I shouldn't say all this racist shit. I gotta learn to stop saying racist shit. Some people never get there. They just revel in the racism and they stay there. But, you know, the way Bob codes isn't going to make you racist. He doesn't have a racist coding style that's going to, like, infect you with racism. Racism is not a computer-transmitted virus. It's not how it works. But yeah, odd little aside there. Anyway, it feels like there are two people, well, 2.5, on YouTube that actually know how to build software. And I like to watch people, they say, here's the way to architect your software. And I pull it up and they're like, you should do everything with pure functional programming. Look, I like object-oriented programming and I use it for just about everything that I do, but at no point am I going to tell anybody you should use object-oriented programming for everything you do. Because you shouldn't. Sometimes you need to do just a pure monolithic program that's just one fucking string of code from beginning to end. You don't need to divide it up. It's just like for speed and clarity and efficiency, you just write the code from beginning to end, and there it is, one long stream, start and done. And there are other times that you just want to be procedural. You know, you want to have the thing, and this is the way that I build almost everything, whether it's object-oriented or not. You know, I might build this in one object, or I might build it in the whole goddamn program, but you got your primary function. And it's like, we're going to call this function, this function, this function, this function. And then each of those functions has a bunch of code in it. Sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you don't need to put it in objects. You don't need to put it in a framework. You don't need to have a library. You don't need to do that. Sometimes you do an object-oriented build, but you don't use an object-oriented architecture. You don't do an object-oriented design. And you got this one object that is just like the procedural part of your code. There are all kinds of hybrid approaches and new approaches and different approaches that make sense over here and they make sense over there, but they don't make sense everywhere. I have never seen any approach to programming that made sense every fucking where. So you get these people that are like, you need to do everything with functional programming. No, that's bullshit. You don't do that. I mean, when you do object-oriented programming properly, it looks a lot like functional programming because you isolate the side effects. In functional programming, none of your functions have any side effects. But in object-oriented programming, most of your functions don't have side effects. They only have side effects when the side effect is why you called the function. You isolate the side effects to tiny little parts of the code. So whenever something goes wrong and you go, there was a side effect, you know it's one of those places that has a side effect. The rest of the places don't do that shit, so you don't have to look at those. And you can isolate those, and you can do that. Fundamentally, functional programming is a way of writing small, simple blocks of code that are reliable and that you don't have to worry about. They're never going to have a bug in them. Once they pass the tests, they're going to pass the test forever. Nothing is ever going to break them if you wrote a proper test. But you should be doing that in object-oriented too. You should be doing that in all of your objects. You should be doing that in your functions and in your methods. And test-driven development, I'm not a fan. I don't think test-driven development is good. But I'm not in Jonathan Blow's court where test-driven development is stupid. But I'm also not in Dave Farley's court where test-driven development is great. Test-driven development, generally speaking, you need unit tests for some stuff, not for everything. Mostly what you need is a good test suite for the final project. A lot of stuff you don't need to test because if it's broken, everything that uses it is going to break. So when you write it in, when you write something that uses it, the thing that uses it is going to break, and you're going to go, what the fuck is wrong? You go, oh, it's this part. This part's broken. And if you know it's one of the parts with side effects, you just look there right from the beginning. Anyway, where was I? Was I anywhere? Was I talking about anything? Am I just rambling? I don't fucking know. There's a thing I wanted to mention where I was like connecting everything to... I was connecting some stuff to... Oh, I remember what it was. So here's the thing. A lot of people, they start learning to program. You know, they go, I'm going to go and I'm going to learn to code. And they find things really, really difficult. And the reason they are finding that difficult is because chances are very good the last time you learned something brand new, you were a child. Everything you've learned past childhood has been just building on top of something you already knew. And it was just a little bit, you know, you build a little bit here, you build a little bit there, and it just kind of sneaks up on you. But when you really switch gears, like I did 6 years ago when I said, I'm going to be an artist. I'm not going to say it was a bad idea. I am going to say I didn't know what I was doing. I think it's the same way with people who go, I'm going to learn to code. When you pick up something brand new as an adult, chances are very good you have never picked up something brand new as an adult. It's an experience. Like, it's a real experience, especially if, I was 49 when I picked up art and started working on it. And I see a lot of people who are like, you know, I'm 34 and I'm going to start working on building my dream game as a game developer. This is going to be hard. And the major reason it's going to be hard isn't because the subject is hard. It's because you probably have zero memory of how hard it is to learn new things. And when you get started doing that, when you start like learning a new thing, you're going to hit point after point after point where you're like, fuck, I didn't know anything. But I do now. And then not that long after that, you're like, fuck, I didn't know anything. I was going along for a while thinking I was doing really great because I had a grasp on the fundamentals and I was sketching and I was doing these character designs and all of this stuff and my anatomy was looking good. I was even getting my facial expressions okay. And yeah, this is great. This is going to go awesome. And then I started going, why doesn't this look right? Why can I not? Why doesn't this thing that I'm doing? I know the anatomy. I know how it works. What am I getting wrong? And what I was getting wrong was related to perspective. And perspective is easy. I say this all the time. Okay? Is you like perspective? If I just grab a couple of index cards here, okay? When a thing is close to you, it looks big. And when it's far away, it looks small. That's perspective. That's all there is to perspective. People go, well, what about 1 point and 2 point perspective? Okay, so if you have a card right here, right? If the front edge is closer to you than the back edge, the front edge looks bigger than the back edge, which looks smaller than the front edge. And when you draw lines between a big thing and a small thing, they can't be straight. They have to be angled. And when you look at the simple elements of it like that, when you just look at it, when it really gets broken down like that, you're like, fucking duh. And then I picked up a book about perspective. A whole book about perspective. Like, we need a whole book about perspective. And then you start thinking about the viewing plane and the station point. And measuring point? What the fuck? And you realize that perspective is this massive subject. It's a subject that has had multiple 1,000-page textbooks written about it. There's just that much shit in there. It's just like, you know, with development. It's like, have I got any development books on my shelf still? Nothing specifically technical. But it's like, with development, it's like, you can get an entire book about nothing but binary trees. But a binary tree is just, you got a node at the top and you got 2 nodes underneath of it. This node is less than the node above it, and this node is greater than the node above it. And it just keeps going like that, right? It's just, that's how it works. And then somebody says, ooh, let me tell you about red-black trees. I'm sorry, what? Red-black trees are a specific type of AVL tree. A what? And then, after you've been through a bunch of stuff about red-black trees and AVL trees, that's where they go, now let's talk about the splay tree. The what? The splay tree sorts itself. Every time you search for something, it moves what you searched for to the root of the tree. The conclusion of the search has the thing you looked for at the top of the tree. Okay. So over a certain period of time, a splay tree automatically sorts itself with the most common nodes at the top. Get the fuck out of here. You look into it and you look at how it works and you're like, holy shit, that would work. That does work over a certain number of iterations. And then you learn about the top-down splay. And I want to be very clear. I fucking love the top-down splay. I would use it for everything if I could. I use it for shit I really should not be using it for because I love it so much. I love implementing it. It's the most wonderful thing. Look it up. It's fucking amazing. It's fantastic. But if you only know the basic description of binary trees, if you only know it's like top node, 2 nodes underneath of that, each node underneath of that is another binary tree. Hey, just like the scene tree in Godot, any node underneath of it can be pulled out and turned into a scene, and it's another scene tree. Any node under the scene tree in Godot can be made into its own scene, and then it's its own scene tree. A scene tree is a tree of scene trees. Even a single node is a scene tree. Binary trees are the same way. So the problem really is that you have this basic understanding of binary trees, and then you look and see there's a whole book of stuff. You go, why the fuck is there a whole book of stuff? It's so simple. It's so basic. Oh, my sweet summer child, you do not know jack fucking shit about the subject. Because not only is there a 1,000-page book about the subject, it's dense. It's dense and it's difficult, and there's a lot of stuff in there. And it's not the only one. Everything is like that. Everything just kind of, every field of study goes on forever. And because it goes on forever, you keep finding 1,000-page books about things you never imagined they could write a 1,000-page book about. It's just, really? You managed to write a 1,000-page book about that? Fuck, my beer's almost gone. And wow, I've been talking almost half an hour, and I haven't even gotten into any meaningful point. Have I? Have I gotten to a meaningful point? I don't fucking know. I don't rehearse these. I don't script them. I just like come on here and fucking rant. That's what I do. That's why it's showing up an old man yapping instead of like, here's my very definite show that I do every week that has a very definite point. It is very definitely well researched and well planned and well organized. Nope, I'm just over here with a beer. Eventually I won't even be with the beer. No more beer there. Hey, I can pause and get another one. Alrighty then. I'm out of bottles. So I have to go to cans. And that means I'm going to have foam. A lot of foam. The head develops the flavor of the beer. A lot of people don't tell you that. I feel like so many things are being lost. Talk to my kids, they don't know things. And I go, well, let me tell you about the things. They go, I don't care. Okay. You can't teach people if they don't want to be taught. You know, that's the way that it is. And I feel like I am living in a world full of people who don't want to be taught. And yet they all want to teach. I've done some cringy, embarrassing tutorials in my day because I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. And the reason I didn't know what I was talking about was that if you've ever seen the Dunning-Kruger effect graph, it's like, here's where you start learning about something, and up here is where you know a little bit about it, but you think you know a whole lot about it. And that is called the peak of Mount Stupid. Then you enter the valley of despair. The valley of despair is where you realize you don't know shit. And then you gradually climb into competence and mastery. Gradually. They don't properly represent the journey to mastery, because it's like, you know what? I'm gonna pull up Clip Studio Paint here, and we're gonna draw some graphs. So flip over here. Hello. You know, I keep forgetting. I reorganized my monitors, so now I've got like a monitor over here and a monitor over here, and I got the monitor down here. Now I used to have them swapped, so this monitor was on the left and that monitor was on the right. But now I moved that monitor over here and I changed it so this one's on the left. And I still, after like a month, I'm still moving my cursor up and as far as I can to the left and going, why isn't it on the monitor I want it to be? Because I swapped the monitors. I'm a fucking idiot. Also, I've been drinking, so, you know. But yeah, let's flip over here and let's talk a little bit about, oh, I need to clean my screen. You know what? This used to be the ritual every time I started the video. Was I would get the paper towel and I would get the Windex and I would spritz my paper towel and I would clean my tablet every time I started a video. And I stopped doing that. Stop doing that because I kind of changed the way I do everything. I changed the way I do everything because I switched to the first 10, 15 minutes being a talking head thing. Also, when I'm just typing, it's not important to have a clean screen so I can use the pen, you know? So anyway, here's the Dunning-Kruger effect, all right? You start out, you don't know anything about what you're doing, and you start learning some stuff, and you get to here, and then suddenly you just think you know everything. You're like, oh man, I know exactly what I'm talking about. And then after a while you go, oh wait. And then you gradually make your way up, okay? Now, the thing is, what we're overlaying this on is actual competence, okay? And your perception of competence. Because your actual competence is more like this. One of the things that you will notice here is that at the very beginning, you think you are so much more competent than you are. That's why we call this spot right here the Valley of Despair. Because when you realize you don't know what the fuck you are talking about, you fall down into this region, you think you don't know a goddamn thing. There's this point right here, and you will notice this as this goes up, okay? This point right here, that tiny little moment just before the Valley of Despair, that is the only place that you are exactly as competent as you think you are. Because for the rest of your goddamn life, not just your career, but for your life, you will never think you're as good as you are. And that little shaded area in there, that gap between how good you actually are and how good you think you are, that gap, that's imposter syndrome. That's the sense that you are much worse than you actually are. Now, the good news is that whatever level you think, okay, that's where I'm competent, you can eventually think you've gotten there, but you've actually gotten much farther, okay? But the journey to mastery here, okay, it's more like you do this, and then down at the bottom, when you start journeying to mastery, it goes like this. It goes up and then across. Okay? Here's your actual competence right here. And here's your perception of competence. Your perception of competence, it goes up and then it plateaus. It goes up, plateaus, goes up, plateaus, goes up, plateaus. It does this the whole way along. And at every point, every time you get to the peak of one of these plateaus, you think you're closer to the top than you are. You think you're closer to your actual level of competence, your level of experience. And it's these spots where you feel like you're doing really good. And then you have these spots where you see that gap widening and you're going, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I just really don't. And the problem here is that everybody looks at this. Let me select this. And everybody thinks that what's actually going on is like this. See, they are trying to get better, but competence is this straight line. And every time you start to get close to it, right here, you start falling away. You feel like you get closer, you feel like you fall away. You feel like you get closer, you feel like you fall away. But that's not actually how it works. It works like this. This is how competence actually works. This is how getting better at what you do actually works. You do this, you have this sudden spike, and then you got a little drop, and then you plateau. And that spike gets you close. Your perception of where you are gets close to where you actually are. And then it starts getting farther and farther and farther from where you actually are. This drives a lot of people nuts. This makes a lot of people, and it's most of the people that you talk to online, this is why you get online and you start talking on social media. And you get shit like, well, what's going on with me now on Blue Sky is I got into the food delivery discourse. And I'm not a normal person to be in the food delivery discourse. And the reason I'm not a normal person to be in the food delivery discourse is my whole fucking family cooks. I used to be a line chef at a ski resort. I used to be a pastry chef. I make the world's greatest goddamn cheesecake, like real cheesecake, New York style cheesecake, the rich, dense shit that your fork stands up in. You cut the tiny little wedge and you stick the fork in it, and the fork makes the cake fall over, but it doesn't fall out. The cake holds it because it's that fucking dense. It has a perfect brown ring around it, that little patina around the edges, and that little bit at the edge. Because, you know, it's flat in the middle, okay, but out at the edge it does that little thing. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. The hard part when you're doing a New York cheesecake is not burning the top of the crust. That's hard to do because you started off at a really high temperature. You started off like 475 degrees or some such shit, but only for 10, 15 minutes. And then it goes down low. You turn it up high so that you get everything melted and you get that good brown top on it. And then you take it down low because you need those convection currents to mix the cheese. into everything else. You need it to sit there and simmer for a long, long time. And you turn that heat down. You get that heat down to like 150, 200 degrees, and you prop the oven door open. You prop the oven door open to let some cool air in there, so it's even colder than you think it is. Like it gets down to like 120. A good cheesecake is a fucking art form. Like I said, I'm not fucking normal. Anyway, I got into this discourse of people are like, these people are eating out too much and they're ordering takeout too much. And a bunch of people just jumped up their butt about that and said, well, we can't cook. We don't have time to cook. No, you don't know how to cook. Cooking is fucking easy. You want to know how easy it is to cook? A turkey sandwich is cooking. You get yourself 2 pieces of bread. You throw some turkey in the middle of it. You throw some cheese on top of that. Mustard, mayonnaise, slap it together, throw it in a fucking bag. That's cooking. That's cooking. You went into the kitchen and you came out with food. You got fucking food in your hand. That's cooking. You got time. There's plenty of cold food you can make. There's plenty of food that you can just eat cold. I mean, for God's sake, buy yourself a bag of apples. Buy yourself a bag of apples, put them in a bowl on your table. They're pretty. You're hungry? Have a fucking apple. There they are. But it turned into an ableism discussion. And it was one of those things where people were just like, well, some of us are legitimately disabled and we can't fucking cook. I'm aware of that. But a lot of you, even though you are disabled, I know many disabled people who do fucking cook. I have taught disabled people to cook. Your limitations are not universal. A lot of people who are saying I can't actually mean I don't want to. And it's impossible to tell the difference. Because when you say I can't, maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. I don't have enough information to say one way or the other whether you're right or wrong. Okay? But to get that information, I would have to interrogate you at length about a bunch of shit that is fundamentally none of my goddamn business. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to. You're not going to do that because you don't want to. And also, it's none of my business. Some of the reasons you can't do something are personal, private things that you don't want to tell a stranger on the internet. And that is fine. Which means when you say, I can't, but you actually mean, I don't want to, there's no way for me to know that. There is no way for me to know whether you actually can't or you don't want to. That's entirely up to you. You have more information about yourself than anybody else in the world. As long as you're honest about it. As long as you admit it. As long as you admit shit like, I was raised in the 70s in a town in Georgia. A lot of fucking Klansmen in it. Yeah, I'm racist. I'm going to think racist shit my entire life, and I've got to install filters and blocks in my brain that go, that's not true. Don't say that out loud. You have to admit those things to yourself. You have to admit the shitty, nasty, unhappy things about yourself. I don't want to be racist. I work not to be racist. And most of the time, I do a pretty good job. And then I will think a thing. And I'll go, ooh, no. I can try to stop thinking it, but we all know how intrusive thoughts work, right? It's the same thing here. A lot of people have things going on in their head that they can't tell you about. You know, it's like they have executive dysfunction. They don't want to tell you they have executive dysfunction because maybe that would make their boss think they can't do their job. There are all kinds of reasons. There's all kinds of stuff you don't want out there on the internet. For God's sake, privacy is dead. Privacy has been dead for such a long time. You just have to keep your mouth shut about things. You got to keep it inside. You got to keep it pushed down. You got to never reveal it to anybody. And I've been drinking, and that's why I admit that, fuck yeah, I was raised by racist people at a racist time in a racist part of the country, and all of that racism is still back there in the back of my head. Because that's what I was taught, and I was too young to know any better. If you're taught nasty racist shit about people when you're 5 and 6 years old, you will never not be taught that. Ever. It's in your head forever. For the rest of your life, you're going to have that shit in your head. And you got to build a fence around it and go, no, no going in there. But as I was trying to say with this whole discourse thing, and I wandered off the topic because beer on an empty stomach, more to the point. But one of the things you notice on the internet is that, like, everybody seems to be here. They're hanging around the top of Mount Stupid. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but they talk about it anyway, and they think they know what they're talking about. They think they're a fucking expert. Because look at this. That's where they think they are. They're nowhere near it. It's going to be years before they're near it. Hey, have you ever seen those people say that 10,000 hour rule is bullshit? They're sitting up here. That's the 10,000 hours. They're like, I'm at the same place as somebody who's put 10,000 hours into this. No, the fuck you are not. Sit down and shut up. God, what a creaky fucking chair. Actually, that wasn't the chair. I was just farting. I don't know why I said that. That's not even a funny joke. Anyway, the thing about the 10,000 hour rule is that when you get here, when you get to this area right here, this isn't where you're good. Good is somewhere around here. You're good here. All right? You can get a job here. I swear to God. The first real job I had in the computer industry, and by real job, I mean a salaried job, not hourly pay, at a big company that paid me wages, and I got a W-2 at the end of the year. The first job I had like that, I was a database administrator. I knew fuck all about databases. I didn't know shit. As far as the 10,000 hour rule went, I had zero. I barely knew what a database was. So how did I get the job? Well, my mother-in-law happened to know an information services manager at Bell Atlantic. And she said, oh, my daughter just got married. And her husband, my son-in-law, he's looking for a job. He does computer things. Aren't you a computer things person? And Rosemary went, well, yeah, I am a computer things person. So, have him give me a call. And send me his resume, and I'll take a look at it, and I'll see what I can do. But my mother-in-law was a political mastermind and one of the best social engineers I have ever met. 72 years old, German, Nazi bride, former Nazi bride. That's funny because I'm Jewish. Her husband was a Nazi, and her daughter's husband was a Jew. And that's funny as hell to me. But You know, people always say in Nazi Germany, you would have been a Nazi. Everybody was a fucking Nazi in Nazi Germany. We had so many conversations about that, but I don't want to get off track here. Anyway, social engineer, political fucking mastermind. And she's talking to Rosemary. Rosemary says, have him send me his resume. And she says, oh, you don't have to get his resume. You can just talk to him. He's right over there. Well, he's right over there. Yeah, he's at the bar with Manfred Leinemann. Manfred? He's over there with Manfred. Manfred Leinemann was a property developer. He was a big, like, building guy, real estate dude. Okay, this is back in the 80s. So you know, was it the 80s? Yeah, it was the 80s. The late 80s, but still the 80s. Was it? Yeah, it was. It was still the 80s. But Manfred Leinemann was a big real estate developer. And the thing about Manfred Leinemann is nobody liked Manfred Leinemann because he was one of the fussiest pieces of shit in the world about who he associated with. He was fussy as fuck. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He didn't want to hang out with anybody. He thought everybody was stupid. He didn't want anything to do with them. He's like, none of you know jack shit. Manfred and I were like this. We got along great. And the reason we got along great is we were both in absolute agreement. The vast majority of the world is weak, stupid, and lazy. All the way back in the 80s, I'm saying this shit. Manfred Leinemann is like, I am so fucking with you. And because I had worked construction, he and I understood the same industry, and we could talk about the industry. And we had very similar views from opposite sides of the management. He's the guy that would bring in all of the money, and he would hire the architect, and he would get the designs, and he would hire the construction workers. And I was fucking grunt labor. I would like dig ditches and hump cement from one side of the site to the other and carry 2x4s and shit. But we understood the same things about what we were doing. Our job is to optimize the work process in every way that doesn't reduce the value of the end product to the buyer. It's the way I write software. That's still the way I write software. It's always been the way I write software. It's like all of this stuff, the object-oriented thing, the functional programming thing, which language you use, which libraries you use, which framework you use. All of this stuff, you make these choices for the purpose of improving your team's ability to do the work, but never at the expense of the end product. You never make a choice that is going to make your end product worse. That's the important thing. Manfred and I were on the same page about this. A lot of people didn't understand Manfred. I understood him. We were like this. And Rosemary looked at me over there talking to Manfred, and she watched me talking to him for a while. And she's like, Manfred legitimately likes him. Manfred doesn't like anybody. He's the fussiest person ever. And then, oh God, Anna told me about this. My mother-in-law, Anna, she told me that Rosemary said, what does his wife think? And she called Liesel over. Liesel was Manfred Leinemann's wife. And Liesel said, oh, I don't like him. I don't like him one bit. Like, for one, he doesn't even speak German. Why is he here? Because everybody at the club that my mother-in-law went to was German and spoke German. Why was I there? Because I was her ride. I drove her there. She didn't drive. I had the car. I drove her there. I drove her there it was not the 80s. It was the 90s because I had a 1990 Corolla. And it was old. So this would have been 92, I think. Yeah, 92, 93, maybe 94, somewhere around there. No, was this when I was driving the Supra? Was it? Yeah. This is when I was driving that cream-colored Supra because it was a convertible, and every time I put the top down, Anna would complain. I'm old. I don't remember shit. I have to remember shit by making weird connections and connecting the dots. Your memory is all fucked up when you get older. It's really fucking weird. But after they talked to Liesel and then Liesel left, Rosemary was like, okay, good. Liesel doesn't like him. Because Liesel is a fucking cunt. Nobody liked Liesel. Liesel was just like the nastiest, most awful person in the world. If she liked you, you were also a nasty, awful person. Liesel didn't like anybody. Manfred didn't like anybody. But for very different reasons. Liesel wanted you to be a cunt. Manfred wanted you to be thoroughly dedicated to competence and meritocracy. Manfred was smart too. We used to talk philosophy. I don't want to get into that. But Rosemary, after seeing, Manfred Leineman loves me, Liesel Leineman thinks I fucking suck, she was just like, that's all the recommendation I need. And she gave my mother-in-law a phone number and a name and a reference number. And when my mother-in-law gave me that, this is the funniest thing. On the way home, my mother-in-law was being the world's biggest bitch. And she always did this because there's this weird sort of balance that she had in her head, which was, if I'm about to do something nice to you, I better make sure you deserve it. I have to make you kind of go through a little gauntlet of putting up with my shit before you get the nice thing that I've got for you. And usually it's like, oh, I baked Apfelkugel. Would you like some? She was an amazing cook, an incredible cook. One of the reasons that Anna and I got along was that we were both, pastry chefs. We baked desserts. It is very different because my schooling in pastry is very French, and her school was obviously very. This is completely off topic. Anyway. She gave me the number, she gave me the name, she gave me the little reference number. And the next morning, I pick up the phone, and I call the number, and I ask for the name, and I say, Rosemary Backer told me to give you this reference number. And she went, oh, yeah, can you come in around 2 o'clock? I guess? You know where the office is? I guess? And the office is in Silver Springs. This is the Bell Atlantic office in Silver Springs. And I went over to there, and this is in Maryland, obviously. So I go to the Bell Atlantic office, and I think that, I'm going there to talk to somebody about potentially getting a job. I was there to fill out the I-9. I had no experience with databases, barely even knew what a database was. And my manager just, based on vibes, said, yeah, you can be a database administrator. That shit happens all the time. Nepotism, ho! And we act like it doesn't, but it does. Okay? And that's, I think, let me go full screen again. This is important. I want you guys to really get what I'm saying here, okay? Meritocracy exists as a path for anyone to get from point A to point B. If you're very, very good at what you do, that will get you from point A to point B. You may need to switch jobs over and over and over again. You may need to talk to a lot of people. You may need to network. You may need to get political. You may even need to do some things that aren't entirely legal or ethical. You will definitely have opportunities to do those. You will definitely be aware that doing the illegal, unethical thing will get you farther in your career. It's up to you whether you take those. I had a few avenues like that. I took a couple of them, and I felt really, really bad about it. And then for the rest of my career, I just didn't fucking touch them. You'll have opportunities to be corrupt and to be immoral and to do shit you really shouldn't do, to do unethical shit. And I recommend you don't do it, because being good at your job is going to be better for you. It's going to be better for you as a person. It's going to be better for you as a career. Raw facts. If you're the most immoral, unethical piece of shit on the planet, that will be great for your career. Well, here in America anyway. Because in America, we have totally internalized the idea that if you are immoral, illegal, or unethical for money, that's okay. That's why, that's one of the reasons so many people don't give a shit about Donald Trump's garbage, because he did it for money. It's one of the reasons why when we were talking about Hillary Clinton's emails, the Republicans tried to go, and she got her friends jobs in the administration that they were not qualified for. That's what you do. If you have power, you use it to help your friends so they can make money. And nobody really had a problem with it. We understood it, because you're supposed to help your friends. You're supposed to help your friends get better jobs. You're supposed to help your friends make money. Is it unethical? Yes. Is it corrupt? Yes. Is Hillary Clinton an absolute fucking cunt? Yes. But nobody cared. And just to be clear, fuck Donald Trump. I kind of got to say it out loud. Because if you're going to shit on Hillary Clinton, they got to also make sure everybody knows, no, fuck Donald Trump. You know, it's a weird thing. It just kind of occurred to me. I've heard so many people say, Joe Biden is not my guy, Joe Biden is not my guy, Joe Biden is not my guy. Joe Biden kind of is my guy. I like Joe Biden. I would vote for him again. Like, seriously. But, yeah, fuck it. We're trying to talk about something that's not politics and that's not divisive. Well, it should be divisive. It should be divisive, because if you're a fucking Republican, get the fuck off my channel. You like Donald Trump? Fuck off. I've had too much to drink. I'm almost ready to have another beer, and I think I will. Anyway, this is going to be the longest video I've ever done. Oh, no, it's not. I did a 10-hour Minecraft stream once. Was it 10? Oh, no, wait. The 10-hour Minecraft stream I never posted, because I said, who the fuck is going to watch that? It was stupid and boring. And also, I started singing in the middle of it because I was drunk. I may not want to stream too much longer. I'm not streaming, I'm recording. I may not want to stay on here too much longer, because if I start singing, oh my God, I'm going to lose my entire fucking audience. That's not true. That's internalized bullshit. My mother has been telling me I can't sing my entire life. And because your mother's appraisal of your skill is usually the highest appraisal of your skill, when your mother tells you you're bad at something, you tend to feel like you're really bad at it. There's just one problem. My mother would have perfect pitch if she had ever actually taken any fucking music classes. She is incredibly, unbelievably nuanced about music, about singing. She can tell immediately when something's out of tune. She can tell immediately when something doesn't sound right. The way she relates to sound is just unbelievable. So the fact of the matter is, I'm an okay singer. I've even had vocal lessons. I'm okay. A lot of people think I'm good. I don't think I'm good. Some of that is imposter syndrome. Remember the thing we were talking about earlier? But mostly my mother is one of the most difficult fucking critics when it comes to singing. So I understand that intellectually, but I spent my entire childhood being told to shut up because I couldn't sing. A lot of my childhood was really shitty and I didn't know it at the time. And then it's like, oh, well, you know, it's like, my mother spent a lot of time when I was a kid telling me that I suck at singing. I should shut the fuck up. Oh, wow, that's borderline abusive. Who would do that to their child? My son doesn't know how to fucking sing, but I thought it was great when he would try. It was awesome. He started making up a song once. He was, what was it? He was playing with something or other, and he was singing, and a boo, and a boo, and a boo, and then another boo, and then a boo, and a boo, and a mommy boo, and then a boo, and a boo, and then another boo. And I thought it was really cool. And I was hanging around for a long time waiting to see if he would say, and then a daddy boo. And he never did. He only said a mommy do. He only said a mommy boo. That's the only thing he ever said. Just like, you know, the old Bill Cosby routine where dad teaches his son how to play football and his son becomes a football player and the camera lands on him and he says, "Hi, Mom." I think fundamentally it's impossible for a father to have the same connection to his children that a mother does. Because she had an extra 9 months to bond with them in a way that dad never can. But that is me being philosophical. And this is me going to get another beer. Okay, I'm back. Wait a cup. ¿Dónde está la cup? Le cup est disparu. Fuck it, I'll be white trash and shit. Anyway, I don't know who the fuck is still watching this. What kind of person are you? If you're still here, go down in the comments and tell me, why are you still watching this? Have you nothing better to do? Anyway, I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. Do I remember what I was talking about? I don't. I have no idea what I was talking about. Oh, okay. I was talking about singing. I don't fucking care about singing. Let's back that up. Back it up. Roll it back. Way back. Roll back. Only people who know Tai Chi will get that. But, remember I was saying that, like, meritocracy is there so you can get where you're going. But a lot of people are not going to use that. They're going to be immoral. They're going to be unethical. They're going to be corrupt. And you got to choose whether you're going to do that. And if you choose to do that, that's always going to get you farther. Because fundamentally, it's just like, there's the example that I always use. I think I've talked about this here before. Hey, I could just like drink the rest of this coffee. And I would have a mug to put my beer in. And then I wouldn't have to drink it out of the can like fucking white trash. Why do I think drinking out of the can is white trash? It's because of my time in Georgia. I used to live outside of Athens, Georgia. I used to live in, I don't want to say the town because at the time I lived there, it was not in Athens. It was a little bit outside of Athens. At the time I lived there, it was what we called a Klan town, as in the Ku Klux Klan held so many municipal positions that effectively the Ku Klux Klan owned and ran the entire goddamn town. So you hear people talk about sundown towns. Sundown towns are still a thing, in fact. Klan towns are a little bit farther on the racist end than sundown towns. So the thing is, it was in that environment that I saw people drinking straight out of the can. So, it's not so much that I associate drinking straight out of the can with being white trash, as that I associate it with being racist as fuck. One of the most interesting things to me from a philosophical standpoint is that when you're intoxicated, you can access memories and connections and parts of your psychology that you otherwise can't. And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people use psychedelics. If you intoxicate yourself in any way, if you drink, if you go without sleep for a long time, that's an underappreciated way to intoxicate yourself, is to stay up for 2 straight fucking days. I used to do that all the time. When I worked at Washington Gas and Light, actually, as a security guard, we had 16-hour shifts on the weekend. So, like, on Saturday and Sunday, this is back when I wasn't really doing the whole Shabbat thing. I wasn't doing the no work on the Sabbath rule. I was not as good a Jew then as I am today. But anyway, on Saturday and Sunday and the swing shift in the middle. On Saturday, they had a 16-hour shift, and they had a swing shift that went Saturday night to wee hours of Sunday morning. And then there was a Sunday shift that ran like the rest of Sunday and into the night. And then that was where everything gave way to Sunday. But I used to take the Saturday and Sunday shifts, and then the swing shift in the middle, they would try to schedule somebody else. But when they scheduled that somebody else would always call in sick. Because something came up, It's like 9 times out of 10, if you're supposed to work 16 hours from Saturday night till Sunday morning, the great majority of the time, something you would rather do happens. Like maybe you're going to get laid, or maybe Maybe you have an opportunity to go out and party with your friends. There's all kinds of things that can happen. And security guards, at the very least, security guards in the late 80s at Globe Security in the Metro DC area, they drank a lot and they smoked a lot of weed and they weren't very smart. And they weren't very good at their job. I don't know if I've talked about that before. But the thing is, because they would call in sick for the swing shift, I would be working the Saturday shift and the Sunday shift, and I worked the Saturday shift. And when the swing shift came around, a lot of the time, I would get a call a couple hours before the end of my shift, and it would be the supervisor. Elliot Glover was the supervisor that I remember the most. He was a good guy. I liked him because he cared about doing the job right. But he would call me up and he would go, "I'm really fucking sorry, but so-and-so called in sick. Can you handle the swing?" I can handle the swing. And I would work 48 hours in a row, 16, 16, 16. And you have the most amazing moments of clarity after you've been up for 40 hours and you're still working, and you get up out of your chair, and you get up out of your seat, and it's like, well, I've been working for 40 hours. I've done a week's work in 2 days, and I got 8 hours of overtime yet. It's like 52 hours of pay for working 2 days. It's fucking awesome. That's great. It was the greatest thing. That's what put me through college. That's how I got through. That's how I got my degree. My bullshit degree that doesn't fucking matter. But, yeah. So you stay up for 2 days straight. You have these moments of clarity. You have these moments. And that whole thing around intoxication, when you get intoxicated, when you're drunk as fuck, which I'm not drunk as fuck. I don't get drunk as fuck anymore. There was a point in my life where I went, okay, this is out of control. I am not going to drink more than half a bottle of hard liquor a day. Because I had already previously gone from 2 bottles to 1 bottle. Just 1 bottle. 1 bottle a day. That's enough. Not 2, 1. Then I had to go to a half. And that's really fucking strong evidence that you have a goddamn problem. I love being intoxicated. It's one of my favorite things ever. There's a question I used to ask a lot. It's a question I used to ask a lot. Which was, why would anyone ever want to be sober? Why would you want to be sober and not intoxicated? Being intoxicated is so much better. Why wouldn't you just want to be intoxicated 100% of the time? You gotta have a reason, and the reason's gotta be like your job or your responsibility. You're looking after your kids. You want to be a good example, but you have a reason, or you get fucking wasted. That's it. I'm not that bad anymore, I don't think. I do this occasionally. This is my 5th beer today. That's a lot. I mean, it's not a lot. I could definitely drink more than 5 beers in a day, but 5 beers is, in fact, that's a lot of beer. Anyway. If you intoxicate yourself in any way at all, what you do is you deaden certain pathways in your brain. And deaden isn't the right word. People talk about when you drink, it kills brain cells. I'm sure it does, but your brain cells are dying all the time, so who the fuck cares? I think what happens is you numb certain pathways, and in the absence of those pathways, your thought process has to take different paths, and it goes through things that you don't normally think about, and then you go, oh wow, that's true, isn't it? And the problem is, if you know a lot of people that have if you know a lot of people that smoke weed, you're aware that if a person is stupid, smoking weed makes them think they're brilliant. It's not just weed. Smoking meth makes you think you're brilliant. Taking heroin makes you think you're brilliant. Drinking makes you think you're brilliant. You think that you've got all these wonderful ideas. Being up for days makes you think you're brilliant. Any kind of intoxication. Because you're in new and different territory, you're like, oh, this is brilliant. It's not brilliant. It's just a place you've never been. It's not as great as you think it is. It's just new. It's just like pussy, you know? New pussy is always better than old pussy, even when it's not. Anyway, I have thoroughly lost track of anything I was saying. I've wandered off on every goddamn tangent. Again, why the fuck are you still watching this? It's it's getting somewhere. Meritocracy, corruption. Meritocracy, yes. Meritocracy exists. It's a path that you can take, but it's a path that works alongside and not exclusive of nepotism and corruption and cheating and being a fucking loser. If you don't have a family connection, if you don't have a friend connection, if you can't use corruption to get where you're trying to go, if you aren't unethical, if you aren't immoral, if you're unwilling to do illegal shit, as you knock all of that stuff off of the paths to the top, you're always left with just be really fucking good. That's the path, not the only path, not the fastest path, not the most lucrative path, but that's the path nobody can ever take away from you. That's what I really want to get across to you if you are still watching this. And I hope to hell you have better things to do than watch this shit. If you are still watching this, I really want to impress upon you. Being good at what you do can never be taken away from you. You can lose your money, you can lose your fame, you can lose your influence, you can lose your friends, you can lose your family, you can lose your connections, you can lose your history, you can lose all kinds of shit. But if you're good at what you do, that's fucking forever. And that will always get you somewhere. I mean, Look, if you ever wanted evidence that I'm a real engineer, I'm sorry I have to say it. I have to say it. It's possible to lose being good at what you do. Like, what if you're in a fucking car accident and you end up in a coma? I can't leave it sit. I can't just walk away from it and not say. I mean, you can lose it, but it's unlikely. It takes much more extreme circumstances for you to lose it, but you can lose it. You can. You. There's this old joke in Silicon Valley that engineers don't know how to lie. And it's not that we don't know how, it's that we really don't fucking like it. We don't like it. Our life is based on the fundamental concept of we need true information to make good decisions. And it's our job to make good decisions. And if you lie to us, we can't make good decisions. And then you go, you didn't make good decisions. So you fucking lied to us, you fucking idiot. Oh my God. All right. We're going to talk about something completely unrelated now. We're going to talk about something that has nothing to do with any of it because it just occurred to me. I just made a whole bunch of connections. I just thought of a thing, and it's almost certainly because of all this beer. And I'm probably going to go get number 6 fairly shortly. Here's a thing. I forgot the thing. I forgot the thing. Oh my fucking God, I hate that. So we were talking about meritocracy. Let me walk back through it. Go through the thought process. We're talking about meritocracy. We're talking about, earlier we were talking about the 10,000 hour. We were talking about so what's the last thing? The understanding, the whole. What was I going to talk about? It seemed so important. It seemed like such a big deal. It was related to engineering. It was related to game development. It was related to the need for crunch. I wanted to talk about why crunch happens. Because I put developers through crunch. And it's their own stupid fucking fault. And nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever discusses that. You never hear a project manager talk about the time they had to put somebody through crunch. But this was 15 years ago. Nobody gives a shit. I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna get another beer and then I'm gonna talk about that. I found my cup. It is in the bathroom. I went to the bathroom to pee. I put my cup down on the sink while I was peeing. And then I left and I didn't bring the cup with me. I was like, where the fuck is my cup? Right here. Right here. Here's a little something. I was about to start singing Gangster Gangster. But there's a word in it. Right at the beginning. That I don't think should go in a video where I've been talking about how, unfortunately, I was raised in the 70s and therefore I'm racist. That's a word I should not say on video. Absolutely say it when you're singing along to the song. If you can find that in a song, just fucking say it. So, anyway, crunch. How does crunch happen? We're an hour and a half in here. I'm going to tell you a secret about pretty much every video I make. If they get really, really fucking long, the good shit is at the end. Anyway, crunch. How does crunch happen? It happens because engineers are afraid they will get in trouble. You're an adult. I know that your entire life, trouble has been the end of the world. I know that you've been expected throughout your schooling, throughout every class you've ever taken, throughout every school you've ever been to, every teacher you've ever had. If you did anything less than what was expected of you, it was bad and wrong. There should be a word for bad and wrong, like badong. But you're a grown-up now. And one of the most important things as a grown-up is you need to give your immediate superiors the most accurate information you can as soon as you can give it to them. Look, as a project manager, it is my job to serve the needs of the project. I don't work for the company. I don't work for the client. I don't work for you. I work for the project. My primary concern is I want to ship, and I want it to be good. I'm going to give you a few general examples of people who fuck up on projects. Generally speaking, people will estimate a task and they'll go, okay, well, if I work on that task 8 hours every day, I'm going to do this much work on it. You can't work on the task 8 hours every day. There's all kinds of extraneous bullshit that's in your way. It's not possible. You can't do it. So what happens more often than not, and it's typical, this is something I use as a general guideline, is 80%. Most people, when they say I can do this much, they can actually do 80% of that. So you get somebody who says, you get like an Alice. Alice is an engineer and she works for you. And she says, yeah, I'm going to do all of this stuff. And you put together an 18-month schedule of all the stuff she's going to work on. And 6 months into the 18-month project, she realizes she has been operating at 80% efficiency. And she is 26 days behind. That is a little over 5 weeks. 6.5 at 80% efficiency. So she's way behind where she thought she was going to be. The reason she got way behind is because the first week she was like, I'm a little behind. That's okay, I'll catch up next week. That's okay, I'll catch up next week. That's okay, I'll catch up next week. And it's, I'll catch up, I'll catch up, I'll catch up, I'll catch up. Until you're 6 months in and you go, I can't catch up. It's too much. It's 26 days of work. And it's at this point that what Alice does is she goes, okay, I'm going to start working 50-hour weeks. And working 50-hour weeks She's making good progress. She's getting stuff done. She's back on track. She's like, yeah! And 6 months down the road, total of 12 months, she's been working for a year. 6 months down the road, after a year of work, Alice realizes that while she is now keeping track, she's keeping pace with the schedule, she has done absolutely nothing to improve the 26 days of work that she's behind. So as she enters the final 6 months, she goes, I'm going to work 60 hours a week. 60 hours a week is about where you start to hit your limit. It's where the last 10 hours is not a whole 10 hours. So it's at this point that Alice starts to freak out, and it's where she starts to hit burnout. To try and catch up, she's going to move eventually to 70-hour weeks and then to 80-hour weeks. And she's going to damage herself. She's going to do serious psychological and maybe even physical damage to herself, working too goddamn much to try and get shit done. Okay? And in the last couple of months, it's just not possible. She's working too much, and she's been working too much for too long, and she's fried, she's burnt, she cannot handle the workload, and everything is fucked up. She's trying to work 90 hours a week, and you can't work 90 hours a week at full efficiency. You just fucking can't. She gets the project done on time. She gets her work done. She delivers. She gets everything together. But the stuff she gets together is a little too brittle. It's not quite up to par. It's not quite great. And she's fucked up. She cannot go into the next project. She needs time. She needs to recuperate. Everything is a mess. There has been crunch. There hasn't been a lot. She went into the 70 and 80-hour weeks of her own volition toward the end, in the last 4 to 5 months of the project. Okay? And she fucking destroyed herself doing it. Because she fucked up in the early stages, and she didn't tell anybody, and she just worked her way through. Okay? Now let's talk about Bob. Bob started working. No, this isn't Bob. This is Belinda. This is Belinda because Belinda's outcome is going to be better than Alice's. And I don't want the guy's outcome to be better than the girl's. No, I'm not going to fucking do it. Belinda is going to have a slightly better outcome than Alice. Because Belinda starts working, and after a couple of months, she realizes that she is 8 days behind. She goes, fuck! I gotta catch up. So she immediately goes to 50-hour weeks. And 50-hour weeks stop her from getting farther behind, but they don't catch her up. And she goes, okay, I need to do 60-hour weeks. And she does 60-hour weeks. And she gets caught up in just a couple months. She does 2 months of 40-hour weeks and gets behind. 2 months of 50-hour weeks and 2 months of 50-hour weeks and doesn't fall further behind. And then 2 months of 60-hour weeks, and she catches up. And for the rest of the year on the project, she does 50-hour weeks, which is sustainable. Unlike the 60 and 70 and 80-hour weeks that fucking burn you out, 50 hours is sustainable. You can do a 10-hour day. It's possible. It's not fun, but you can do it, and it's cool. So she does the 50-hour weeks for the rest of the year, and everything is cool. She's done a good job because she took stock frequently, and she responded sooner to problems. Alice had her problem. Alice burned out and went straight to fucking hell because she didn't notice the problem for 6 months. She didn't take stock frequently enough. Now along comes, normally this would be Charlie. I don't want it to be a guy. I want them all to be girls. They should all be girls. So along comes, I don't fucking know, Charisse. Charisse. Where did I get Charisse? Oh. Charisse was the cashier at Food Lion in the mid-2000s, around 2005, 2006. Man, she was hot. She was really hot. Anyway, in this story, Charisse is an engineer. Charisse is doing a bunch of code. But Charisse does 2 months of work, and she's fallen behind. She's 8 days behind. And now, Charisse goes to her project manager and says, I'm behind. This is too much of a workload. I'm not going to be able to keep up with it. Now, I can't say for sure what Charisse's project manager does, but if I'm Charisse's project manager, fantastic. How far behind are you? 8 days? No problem. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that 8 days of work and we're going to roll it into the question of, over the course of the next 18 months, well, at this point, 16 months more. You got 8 days that you missed in 2 months. You got another 16 months of work to do. And over the course of all of that, you're going to have like 4 days a month. Over a total of 18 months, you're going to get 78 days behind. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pull 78 days of work off of your schedule. And we're going to shuffle it around to other people. And in order to shuffle it around to other people, there are 2 tools that we're going to use. The first one is, we are going to cut features. We're only 2 months in. Being only 2 months in, we got 16 months worth of shit to do. And any feature we haven't started yet, we can cut with 0 impact. It just works. So we cut some of the features and a couple of the rest of the features, we push them in there and we go, maybe we reduce the need for this feature, we reduce the need for that feature. We shuffle the work around to different people. And what we end up with is a schedule where Charisse only has to deliver 32 hours worth of work for the next 16 months. She still works a 40-hour week, but she delivers what she can deliver in 40 hours, which is only 32 hours of work. Because Charisse went to her project manager and told him what was going on. Now, here's the problem. Imagine that your project is full of Alice. Nobody made Alice work those long hours. Nobody made her do that. But she did because she didn't want to talk to the project manager. And because she didn't want to talk to the project manager, she worked herself into a frenzy, into a lather, into a froth. And she's all fucked up. And now she can't effectively move to the next project. Now, Belinda has taken care of her shit. She's a little tired, but she took care of everything, and she didn't have to talk to the project manager. But look at Charisse. Charisse talked to her project manager early, and the project manager did exactly what he was supposed to do. He shuffled the schedule to make room for the entire project to be done. His first and foremost job was to manage the project. His loyalty was to the project. That's the way it's supposed to be. If you have a project full of Belindas, you don't get crunch and everything gets done. But it's even better to have a project full of Charisses. Charisse reduces the project scope so you can get it done and nobody suffers. Go and talk to your project manager. The later you talk to your project manager, the worse it is. Let's shuffle things a little. Belinda, no, you know what? Alice works for 6 months. She's 26 days behind. She comes in and she goes, I'm 26 days behind. I'm fucked. I've lost 5 weeks of productivity. That's 5% of the schedule. That's a lot. And do you know what you can't cut? You know what you can't cut from a schedule? The work you already did. You can't cut it. You can't scale it back. If it's already done, you can't do it. And in 6 months, a third of the project is already done. It's all that stuff. There's that much room you had that you can't reclaim. Well, what if she waited until she tried to solve it herself? What if she waited the whole year? Now I've only got half as much stuff that I could possibly cut. I got all this space in here that's got to be taken care of. If you have a project full of Alice's, your studio's fucked. It's absolutely fucked. What you want is people that don't just come to you after 2 months like Alice. You want people that come to you after a week. You want people that come to you on Friday and go, I'm a day behind. I'm a day behind and we're going to have to scoot the due date for this particular deliverable. Shit, let's do that. The sooner you tell your project manager, and I'm aware, I'm saying this as a project manager, I'm saying this as somebody that my job is easier if you fucking do this, but you know what occurs to me? Most project managers are shitty project managers. Their first loyalty is not going to be to the project. It's going to be to their paycheck. Why, oh why do I live in a world where Jonathan Blow is right? I'm going to have to pause for a second here. Okay, so I'm back. I've done a little thinking. I've done a little considering. I have poured my beer a little too quickly. I've lost count. How many is that? I don't fucking know. 7? Anyway, I want to believe people are better than they are. I really do. But I'm also a realist. Who am I fucking kidding? I'm a cynic. People suck. Look, as a project manager, my first loyalty is to the project, but my second loyalty is to the people who are working on it. Because if the people who are working on my project cannot do their fucking job, the project is not going to get done. And I care about that. I care about that very, very much. If you have a good project manager, tell them about any challenge that you're having, even if it supposedly makes you look bad, as fast as you can. Because they have more options. The earlier you tell a project manager about the problem that you're running into, the more options they have to deal with it. Because, like, if you tell somebody 15 months into an 18-month project, oh, I'm 2 months behind. Cramming an extra 2 months into a 3-month deadline? That's fucking hard. Everybody's going to crunch. Everybody's going to be forced into that. If you tell them early, they got options. The bad news is one of those options is to replace you. That's the flip side of tell your project manager early. If you come to your project manager 2 weeks into the project and go, dude, I am having trouble meeting the workload. Oh, really? We just hired you 2 weeks ago. I got 3 other candidates on the short list that I could call. Because most project managers are in service to their paycheck. I care very much about my people. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you one of those, I love you, man, kind of stories. Because I'm fucking drunk. Remember, do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe. It was in 2005 that I was watching TV. I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but they used to do these commercials for Monster.com that were a guy working in an office, but the office was full of monkeys. It was all chimpanzees jumping around and acting like fools. And the guy was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I work with monkeys. And the whole idea was, if you work with monkeys, then come to Monster.com and get a better job. I was running an ISV, an independent software vendor, and I was contracted to like 5, 6 clients, something like that. I don't remember exactly. There's a 5 in there. I don't remember whether the 5 is the total or whether the 5 is the number that I dumped, because I saw that commercial. I was up late and I was drinking. I saw that commercial and the guy was like, "I'm sorry, I work with monkeys." And I looked at that and I went, "That's me. I'm in an office full of monkeys. It's my fucking company. I own this company. I work for, my clients are fucking monkeys. My contractors are monkeys. Everybody they're all fucking monkeys. What the fuck?" And the next day, I went batshit insane. And I dug through, I fired my people. I said, "Get the fuck out, you're a fucking monkey." To like, not in so many words. I was just like, "No, you're fired. You're fired. You're fired." I had 27 people working for me. And I fired 21 of them. I just dumped them. I dumped them entirely. Fuck off. You're a monkey. Fuck off. And I didn't actually fire 21 of them. I fired a couple of them, and then some of the other people are like, "If you're going to fire them, then I quit." I'm like, "Fine, fuck off, you're a monkey too." 21 of my 27 people lost their jobs over the course of that week. Some of them I fired. Some of them quit because I had fired their friend. And in the same way, I dumped 2 of my clients. I said, "Fuck you, you're a monkey. I don't work for you anymore. You're fired. You're no longer my client." I fired 2 of them. And 2 or 3 more, I don't remember which, were just like, you fired my friend, so we got to dump you." Like, no fucking problem. You're a monkey too. You're going to fire me because your friend's a monkey? You're a fucking monkey. I ended up with 6 people and 1 client. And I was not in the best financial shape. Because I haven't really talked about this a whole lot, but as a small business owner, well, as me being a small business owner, I was taking home maybe 8% of revenue. Maybe 8%. Because it's not necessary for people to do the things that I did. It's not necessary to buy the things I bought and to pay for the things I paid for. It's not, you don't have to do that. I did that because I thought, well, that's the right thing to do. Me, I want my company to do that. A substantial amount of that, in retrospect, was me playing company. It was live action role playing. This is what somebody who owned a company would do. I had an office that nobody ever visited, where nobody ever worked. full of computers that nobody ever used, with a receptionist that nobody ever called, nobody ever came in. That office was a waste of fucking money. The receptionist, waste of fucking money. Every computer in that office, waste of fucking money. The internet service for that office, waste of fucking money. So many wastes of fucking money because that's what you have to do when you have a company. You don't have to do shit. If you don't need it to get the job done, don't fucking do it. But I got myself down to those 6 developers. And that one client. And that client went, oh, ho, ho, ho! I have it on good authority that you do not have any more clients, and I am your only client. And because I am your only client, I control the fate of your company. And because I control the fate of your company, here's what is going to happen. And he wanted to pay less money, and he wanted to get more work, and he wanted this, and he wanted that, and he wanted the other, and he had a list of demands. And I said, go fuck yourself, Trent. Nobody likes you. And I went home. And I fired him. And I told all of the contractors, I said, Trent is no longer a client. Don't work for him anymore. And I sent Trent the final invoice. Which was substantial. And Trent faxed the invoice back. And he had taken a Sharpie and he had written, fuck you, in big letters across the invoice. I could have sued him. Could have opened a legal proceeding. But I didn't want to bother. So what I did instead was I took out a personal loan, an unsecured personal loan with a really shitty interest rate. Because I had all these people with no job now. I had all these people that worked for me, and I needed to pay them. And I was supposed to pay them with what Trent paid me. He didn't pay me. And I had no income. I had no money. I had no reserves. Because everything was so close to the bone. Oh my God, we were so close to the bone. We couldn't afford jack shit. I had a new baby. And suddenly I had 6 people who needed their fucking money. Who needed to be paid what they were owed. And the client who was supposed to pay me so I could pay them, it just said, fuck you. It wasn't their problem. They didn't have anything to do with it. It was me. I did this. I did this to them. I'm the one who fired the clients. I'm the one who fired their colleagues. I'm the one who told Trent to go fuck himself. It was my fault these people had rent to pay, and bills, and families to feed. So I took out a personal loan. I took out a personal loan for $85,000, and Almost all of it went to pay these people. Including my receptionist. So I had to fire her. I had to cancel the lease on the office. I had to sell off the computers, everything in our office, everything that made up our operation had to be sold or canceled, and it had to be reduced to zero expense. And it was $83,000. I went $83,000 into personal debt to pay that because my last client just flat out refused to pay his final invoice. I covered my shit. I sent my people on their way with the money they were owed. And I paid the early termination fee on my lease. And I got all of that done, and I got all of that taken care of, and I didn't have to declare bankruptcy. But I did have to start working at Microsoft. I had to become a Microsoft contractor. This was the greatest job I've ever had. I fucking loved it. It was the greatest thing ever. I loved working at Microsoft. Everybody I worked with at Microsoft was great. But that was, the mid-2000s. And now, 20 years later, not so great. I gotta go pee. I'll be back in a minute. I have no idea how long this has been going. I don't care how long this has been going. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna talk more about this because it's important. And I love you, man. I love you. You're still watching it. I fucking love you, man. Anyway, I gotta go pee. We're at over 2 hours. This is the longest showing up stream ever. And I checked. This is beer number 7. I did the maths. See, at the beginning of the day, I had 3 bottles of beer and I had 8 cans of beer, and I liked the bottles better, so I drank the bottles first. I drank 2 before I started the video, and I drank 1 after I started the video, and now. Is this the 4th? Yeah, it is the 4th because I had 8 cans. Now I have 4 cans. So yeah, so I drank 4 cans, 3 bottles, so 7 beers. Okay, so in any case, is it 7? Fuck. That was the easy way to check. I should have just looked in the fucking trash. 7 fucking... God, that's... I cannot make a habit of this. I would not call myself an alcoholic because I do not believe alcoholism is a disease. Holy shit. I do not believe alcoholism is a disease. I believe alcoholism is a series of choices that you make, and I am not going to make those choices. That's it's a decision that I'm going to make. I do have a really well-stocked liquor cabinet. Anyway, I used to drink a whole lot. Now I don't drink very much. This is the most I've drunk in a long time. But being intoxicated leads you places. Anyway, I fucked up my company. I fucked it up really, really bad. And I fucked it up because I saw a commercial on TV at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So things used to be really fucking good. And then I had a moment of clarity where I went, I built a company full of fucking monkeys. 2 of my clients were Russians. And what they had me building was distributed email clients. Now, let me kind of clarify what they mean by distributed email clients. A distributed email client is a program that receives email in the background and then sends it out again in the background to a different email server using different credentials. I wrote spam bots. We didn't call them spam bots. We didn't say out loud that the shit we built was spam bots. But that's what we were fucking building. There's good money in that. I was very happy with the money. It's just, you have that moment where you see the guy in the office full of monkeys, and you go, I work for monkeys. I have contractors that are monkeys. We work for monkeys. We build monkey programs for monkey clients. We pretend we don't know what we're doing. For money. America's okay with that. America's totally fucking okay with that. You did it for money? It's understandable. You can do anything for money. You can lie, cheat, and steal for money. Welcome to capitalism. That's what we do. That's not capitalism. Capitalism isn't a system of trade. It's a system of ownership. I remember breaking down crying in a client's office one time and saying, I just can't do it. I can't be moral and ethical and legal and still make money. And I don't know why. And that was the client who said, now that I'm your only client, I can tell you what to do. And I remember being so fucking horrified. That he thought that way. I thought he was like me. I thought he believed in merit, in working hard and doing a good job. I believe more in working hard and doing a good job than I believe in anything else. More than I believe in God. And I light candles every Friday. I light candles every Friday night at sundown, and I do no work on the Sabbath. 25 hours. I do no work. Every single goddamn week. That's how much I believe in God. But even more, I believe in hard work. I believe in working hard and doing well. I believe in doing a good job. I believe in making the best fucking product you can make. And it's demoralizing and dehumanizing to see over and over and over again the people who believe in doing whatever the fuck you can to get the almighty dollar do better. There are exceptions. Culverex, the nobody knows who that is. The dude who the main programmer, the guy at Wooby, the Factorio dudes, the guy who leads the team of Factorio dudes. He believes in hard work and doing a good job. Redigit, the guy who does Terraria. Hard work, doing a good job. He believes in that. Eric Barone, Stardew Valley. Hard work, doing a good job. He believes in that. Who would be a good example who's like actually famous and everybody knows? Gabe Newell. Work hard, do a good job. He believes in that. Todd Howard, but nobody believes he believes in that. There was a day, 97? Bethesda had just shipped Daggerfall. And I bought it because I was living in the Northern Virginia area, and every year I went to all of the FanTech conventions. I went to EveCon, I went to CastleCon, and I also went to Novag, and I went to Balticon. So that was my convention circuit. That's where I went every year. Novag, Balticon, EveCon, CastleCon, and I fucking lived at the Maryland Ren Fair. The Maryland Ren Fair, oh my God, I was there all the fucking time. I basically lived there the whole time it was open. Anyway, at one of the FanTech conventions, I'm fairly sure it was EveCon, which happens over New Year's Eve. CastleCon happens in the summer. I don't know if Bruce Every is still doing the cons. I hope somebody is doing the cons because they're the best fucking cons. But I was at a con, and like way back in the day when I used to talk to devs at the tabletop games, and I talked to some people that worked at Bethesda, and they were like, "We're working on a game," and I'm like, "Cool. Tell me when your game's out." And they told me when their game was out, and I went and I bought it. It was Elder Scrolls Arena. And it was like, it's okay. It's not all that exciting. But what I did tell them around that time, what I did tell the developers, I went, it's just okay. I don't have a glowing review of it. I don't think it's the best game ever, but I do want to tell you this. You are small, you are new, you don't have a lot of money. this tiny little company of just you people who are just like, you're just starting out. I don't think Elder Scrolls Arena is a great game. I don't think it's groundbreaking. I don't think you're doing anything fantastic. It's just, it's another game like every other of its type, like Bard's Tale. But you guys are tiny and you guys are new and you are already on your first game. You are on par with the top of the line AAA shit. You guys are good. You didn't do anything groundbreaking. You didn't do anything surprising. But you guys are really fucking good. So if you did do something groundbreaking, if you did do something surprising, you would do every bit as well as a AAA studio. You really would. You really honestly would. And at the time, Bethesda was like, it was garbage. Nobody cared. Nobody knew who they were. Nobody was interested in them. And a couple years later, they brought this kid to a convention named Todd Howard. And I bought him a $20 bullshit replica of a Horgon because I was like, dude, you need to get laid. He was so fucking uptight. He was so fucking awkward and nervous. And the next time I saw him, like a year or two later, I think it was a year and a half, I think I met him at a CastleCon, and then I saw him again at an EveCon. But it was the next EveCon, not the same year's EveCon, but the next year's. And I went, dude, Daggerfall that you guys just shipped, Daggerfall, that was the best fucking game. I've never seen a game that good. Oh my God, it's incredible. The size, the scope, the generation. We didn't have the term procedural generation yet. I was like, the automatic nature of it. Oh my God, oh, it's so fucking cool. And I was raving at him about it. And Todd Howard, the first time I met Todd Howard, which was like 96, 95, somewhere around then, he was like, dude, you need to get laid. And I bought him a Horgon, a cheap little shitty Horgon. In his interviews now, you can still see a Horgon on his desk. But knowing as much as I do about Todd, which is not a lot, I only met him a couple times, knowing as much as I do about Todd, that's probably the actual prop that was used on the episode and not the cheap piece of shit that I bought him. But I do love that in those interviews, you can still see the Horgon. And I like to think that on some level, my feedback and my interpretations are part of what has driven Todd Howard. I don't think it was the you need to get laid part, because after they released Daggerfall, after they released Daggerfall, and I ran into him at EveCon, and I was talking to him about it, I raved about how good Daggerfall was and how amazing it was and how I don't fucking care that it soft locks and crashes and all of that stuff. Oh my God, it's so good. There's so much stuff. They did so much work. It's so much different from everything. It's the future of gaming. And he said, do you know what the future of gaming is? Like, not in that exact voice. He said it in his voice. Do you know what the future of gaming is? Because that's Todd. And of course I didn't. I said, why don't you tell me? And he told me what the future of gaming was. And what he described was Skyrim. is a bit more than Skyrim. But he described a game that could in no way, shape, or form have been built in 1997. But he was fervent. He was passionate. He was a believer. He meant what he said. He said, the future of gaming is this. And he told me all of this shit that he wanted to do. And I went, yes, that's the game. That's the game I want to play. That's the game I want to buy. That's everything I want in a game. Skyrim is 85% of that. Starfield is 90. Starfield is closer. He's getting closer. So I feel like Elder Scrolls 6, when they did Morrowind, I was not happy. I didn't like the way they did Morrowind. I didn't like the way that it spec'd out, but I could see the formation. I could see the seeds of the work that Todd wanted to do. And then he did Oblivion, and Oblivion was like 2/3 of the way there. It was like 65-70%, somewhere in there. It was so fucking good. I loved Oblivion. I thought Oblivion was so fantastic, and then Skyrim came out. Words cannot express my love for Skyrim. And Starfield. Todd is of my generation. And the inspirations and influences that impinge on Starfield, those are my childhood. Those are... There's a narrow little band of the mid-1980s that Todd is evoking with Starfield. And he does it so well. He does it so perfectly. But you probably weren't there for the mid-80s. So you probably never saw that, and you probably don't know anything about it. You probably never read any of the Usborne books of the future. You absolutely never walked into the Scholastic Book Fair and went, "Ooh, Usborne!" That's not a thing that happened for you if you're of a different generation. So it makes sense Starfield doesn't resonate with you, but holy fuck does it resonate with me. And I sit here and I go, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be as far as we get unless we get another Todd Howard. Which I cannot imagine, because if you go back to the beginning of this video, everybody's so weak and stupid and lazy and oh my fucking God. I think the next Todd Howard probably hasn't been born yet, but probably will be soon. I need to pee again. I'll be right back. I need another beer too. So you know, it's interesting I get really drunk fairly frequently. Well, not fairly frequently anymore, but I used to get really drunk very frequently. And here's the thing. If you get drunk on different shit, it has different effects. Because here's the thing. I am very drunk on beer right now. Very drunk on Jubilee from Deschutes Brewery. I probably have the... Yeah, let me do my little fake promo. Jubilee from Deschutes Brewery, which is local. These guys are like in my area. These guys are fucking great. Do I want to mention the other guys I really like because they're different? They're very different. Deschutes. I like Deschutes Brewery. They're in the Pacific Northwest. They make great fucking shit. Okay, I love Jubilee. It's the greatest thing ever, but it's seasonal. It's only out for a couple months a year. This may be like the last hurrah for Deschutes. As far as beer available year round, I love Guinness. Guinness is fantastic. It's fucking Irish. And there's a Quebecois company, Unibrew. They're very, very good. Fin du Monde is a fantastic true ale. They do real true ales. You get them. They're in those glass bottles and they got the like stopper on them. And down at the bottom, if you shake the bottle, if you like look, you can see there's the yeast and the leavings in there. It's a true ale. It's a fantastic ale. Unibrew is amazing. Deschutes is amazing. If you can get Deschutes where you live, get it. If you can get Unibrew where you live, get it. If you can't get either of them where you live, go on the fucking internet and see if you can order it. That's a very weird tangent to go off on. Anyway. I was going to say something, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, yeah. Todd Howard Starfield is the game that I personally have always wanted and didn't even know it. Starfield is the game that evokes the vision. You know how Fallout is the 1950s vision of what the future is going to be? Like, it's what the future was. If the future turned out the way everybody thought it was going to be in the 50s, Starfield is the future everybody thought we were going to have in the 1980s. And that's my youth, man. That's... Starfield hits something so very personal to me. It's so very important to me. 90-odd% of the population is like, the fuck is this shit? But it hits me. It hits me where I live. And I love it. I love it so much. And it's one of those things. There's this thing. Oh God, what's her name? Oh, I gotta look it up. Oh, what the fuck? She died. Oh, she died. She was 94? Okay, that's not that sad. God, what was where's the... Wasn't it in Fortune? Oh, God. Laurel Cutler. Man. I'm sad to find that she's gone, but I'm not surprised because she was 94. I mean, she was fucking old. But Laurel Cutler once said, I can't find the exact quote, so pardon me if I'm not 100% accurate. Laurel Cutler once said, nice is nowhere. You don't want everyone to like it. You want a tiny few people to love it. And that is Starfield. Because I love it. Oh my God, I fucking love it. I'm at, what is it? I gotta look it up. Hold on, I do some quick maintenance here, but Starfield 2,384.4 hours. Let me look at my favorites list. You know what? Fuck the favorites list. I'm gonna turn off group by collection and I'm gonna look at all games. Yeah, Starfield is still top of the list. It's top of the list. It's over Grand Theft Auto 5. That's how good it is for me. 2,384.4 hours. I have played that game more than anything else ever. Oh, wait a minute. Let me check Skyrim. Okay, Skyrim, I've got 1,278 hours in the special edition. And 1,007.3, that's 2285, is it? 2285.7. And on Starfield, yeah, 2384.4. Yeah, I've played Skyrim more than any other game I've played on Steam. Ever. Because it's that fucking good to me. Not to everybody, but to me. I love Skyrim like I cannot begin to express. It's so fucking good. It's really fucking good. But it's that good to me. It's not that good to everybody. It's that good to me. And when people go, it's got a 70% positive rating. It feels accurate. That feels... What the fuck is wrong with my focus? There we go. That's better. Eight beers. Fucking hell. Starfield resonates with me because of the concept. And it's not just the core of the concept that it's what if the future turned out the way that people in the 80s thought it would. I'm one of the people from the 80s. That's how I thought it would. Ooh, this is really cool. Starfield's core themes are exploration, isolation, and repetition. And I'm like, fuck, that's deep. Why? Because Starfield communicates to me that You go out to new places and you look at them to find what there is to find. But they're all the same. And you're alone. You're ultimately alone. The only people that you can interact with, the only people that you can get to travel with you, that you can get to talk with you, they say the same shit over and over. They do the same shit over and over. They're intolerant of everything that you do. They don't want you to experiment. They don't want you to go outside of the boundaries. They just want you to follow the fucking rules all the fucking time. You're better off without them. Over time, you work up your levels of leadership. And you go, ooh, I get this bonus if I bring companions with me. But you also work up your levels of isolation. And you go, ooh, I get these benefits if I don't bring companions with me. And the benefits for not bringing companions with you are objectively better. That's not really clear until you hit level 4 in both of them, which is the top. But when you hit the top of both, isolation is the good one. And the whole repetition thing, you go to place after place after place, and they're the same layout over and over again. Why? Because people are boring. Because people are weak and stupid and lazy. I like Starfield because it reinforces my core beliefs. And if you don't like Starfield, it's probably because you don't feel it reinforces your core beliefs. Which is fascinating. So, what was I trying to get at there? I don't know. Todd built a game that I thought was incredibly incredible. Incredibly nothing is just incredible. I can barely believe he built a game this good. I love it. I love it so much. I play it so much. And when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, you better believe I'm going to play the fuck out of it. Starfield's new. I'm not familiar with the Starfield world, but matches the world I thought it was. And when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, it's going to be coming back to an old friend. It really is. Although, I do miss the porn. There was one book in Oblivion and Daggerfall and Arena that was just straight up fucking porn. And Skyrim removed it. I feel like we should have kept it. I feel like there's actual fucking porn in the Elder Scrolls. I feel like that was an important aspect of the world. Even if it's just the one manuscript. Porn in the Elder Scrolls needs to be canon, stay canon, and continue to stay canon. But that is me. And I'm still pining away after Huangle in the underbelly of Neon. That's the thing I was going to say. When I get drunk on beer, I get kind of intellectual and kind of nostalgic, and I go, hey, let's talk about the old days Whereas when I get drunk on rum, I get really fucking horny, which is a whole different thing. Beer doesn't do that. All of the different kinds, I have found that all of the different kinds of liquor do very, very different things. I mean, the obvious one is absinthe. Absinthe, I don't know that I've ever seen anyone like talk about this, but absinthe opens the dream centers of your brain while you are still awake. Plus, you're drunk. I got hammered on absinthe once, and I got it was a combination of Dario Argento's Jennifer from Masters of Horror and Silent Hill and some other stuff. And I got really blasted on absinthe, and I was in my bed, plastered up against the wall. I was pushing myself against the wall, forcing myself against it, because I was convinced that deformed children were crawling around the floor. And if I got off the bed, they would get me. And that was fucking amazing. That was like a hallucinogenic drug experience on nothing but alcohol. Absinthe fucking rules. I love absinthe. I don't have any, but I used to. I used to get some fairly good absinthe. I used to get some very good absinthe. Oh, Jade Liqueurs, L'Esprit de Vauqueray. This bottle of absinthe cost me $180. Fucking hell, the autofocus is fucked again. There we go. $180 this bottle of absinthe cost me. It is worth every fucking penny, and I would do it again. Oh my fucking God. It was so good. I love absinthe. Absinthe is good for me. Absinthe is good to me. I love it. I love it. It's amazing. I don't know why anybody is still, we're all closing up on 3 hours. I don't know why anybody is still watching this video, but if you are, thank you. I hope I'm entertaining you or educating you or something. I have to pee, so I'm going to pause, but I will be back momentarily, and you won't even notice, except that I won't be holding the beer. Wahar! See, I told you. Told you. No beer. No beer. Not holding the beer. Here it is. Here's the beer. The beer is here. Hey, that rhymes. I'm a poet, and I was totally unaware of that. What was I even talking about? Was I talking about anything? I don't think I was talking about anything. I know I was talking about something. I am very frustrated with the state of ghetto education because it just feels like it goes that deep and then stops. And then everybody's a fucking idiot. With the sole exception of Juan Linietsky, who's Too busy working on the engine to teach you anything about it. The whole reason I use Godot is because Juan Linietsky posted a bunch of shit on Twitter and he said, I'm not sure what to do about XYZ. And he talked his way through the problem. And he said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And he did it. And it's exactly what I would have done. Juan Linietsky feels like me. He tackles the problems I would tackle, and he solves the problems I would solve, and he uses the solutions I would use. That's why Godot appeals to me, because like with Unity, well, when I was using Unity, I didn't feel like anybody knew what the fuck they were doing. I didn't feel like anybody on the team knew what they were doing. I didn't feel like anybody in the community knew what they were doing. I would say things like, hey, I downloaded your asset from the asset store and it has over 1,200 warnings. Oh yeah, but we don't give a shit. What do you mean you don't give a shit? How do you not give a shit? I'm 0 warnings, 0 errors. What the fuck? What the entire fuck? It's just like all you have to do, you just go through and you put this pragma in front of all of this stuff. It's because of the export variables. We export a variable so that you can initialize it. But then we don't initialize it, and then we use it, and it's not initialized, and we get a warning. So fucking initialize it! Well, we don't want to because we want you to do that in the editor instead of like, then use the pragma that says it's not initialized. Do you know how long that would take? Fuck Unity. Fuck everyone involved in it. Fuck the entire goddamn asset store. I don't fucking care. I really, really don't. Why don't you use Unreal? Oh, Unreal. Why don't I use Unreal? I tried to use Unreal for like a year and a half because Godot was still new and it didn't feel like it had the features I needed. It didn't feel like it was in good shape. We were waiting for version 2.0, I think. We might have been waiting for 3.0. We were waiting for some version. But the waiting for Godot thing was a big joke. And during that time, I was trying to work in Unreal. And I reminded myself over and over again, Tim Sweetney is the devil. And Epic Mega Games is hell. Like, I have never seen a more wretched hive of corruption and villainy. That's almost a quote from Star Wars. I can't remember the real thing because I'm drunk. Scum, scum. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. That's Epic Mega Games. A wretched hive of scum and villainy. Tim Sweetney is the fucking devil. It's hell. Don't work with these people. Don't take money from these people. Don't do anything with these people. Fuck them. Because, look, it's not just vibes with Epic, okay? It's not just vibes. It's really not. I have watched Epic for the last 10 years try like hell to reinstate the publisher-centric framework of the 1980s. During the 1980s, I spent over $12,000 trying to become a certified PlayStation developer. I hired a half a dozen developers. And I mean, it was like $500,000 a year to pay these fucking people to try and be a PlayStation developer. And PlayStation fucking sucked. They were awful. They were constantly like, no, you need to give us more money. No, that's more money. That's another tier. That's this, that's that. And Sony was the worst company I'd ever worked with trying to get a game published, ever. Until I talked to Epic. And the details of what went on when I talked to Epic, that really isn't important. Because what really mattered was when I looked at Fortnite. Fortnite is very clearly, if you understand anything about consumer psychology, if you understand game development, game design, it's very clearly targeted at the under 12 market. And it's a casino. It's a casino for people under 12. Tim Sweetney thought that was okay to build, and Epic Mega Games thought it was okay to build it. Fortnite is the single most evil game design I have ever seen. It is designed not only to make you spend huge amounts of money, but to target people who don't have any money and are going to steal it from other people. I don't believe there are words in any terrestrial language to express how fucking evil Fortnite is. If you want to talk about an online purchases platform that is like the least predatory and the most clear about please don't do this, my top nomination is Grand Theft Auto Online. I'm going to look it up right now. You know what? I'm going to look it up right now and I'm going to post it. I'm going to post it from a screen clipping in Clip Studio Paint. This is directly, and I mean fucking-rectly, from the store page for Grand Theft Auto 5. Cash therapy is fleeting. They tell you right in the entry, I'm going to screen clip exactly where that came from. Where did that come from? It came from here. here. See it right here? Cash therapy is fleeting. That's buy shark cards. They tell you in the sales pitch for shark cards, cash therapy is fleeting. They tell you right here, right there, cash therapy is fleeting. In the sales pitch for shark cards. Spend wisely. Cash therapy is fleeting. Spend wisely. With the occasional purpose, help get what you want with the occasional purchase. Grand Theft Auto Online is the only, and I mean only, online service game with cash purchases that says, don't do this too much. It doesn't last very long. And you know what? I love Bethesda, and I haven't actually looked at this, but I'm gonna go and I'm gonna look at Starfield, and I'm gonna go to their store page, and I'm gonna go, oh. Where is the purchase for Creations Club? Where is it? Starfield Creations. Here we go. Starfield Creations credit. Let's compare Starfield Creations credit. I love Bethesda. I'm very fond of them. They do a very good job, but let's compare what they say to what Rockstar said. What did they say? Creation credits can be used in the Creations menu in Starfield. Browse the selections in-game by category and use your credits to purchase content. Creations are compatible with the main game and official add-ons. I don't have a single problem with this. I think Bethesda is entirely within their rights. But honestly, when you compare that to what Rockstar said, occasional purchase, cash therapy is fleeting. Rockstar is being more ethical. And I'm very proud of them. I like Rockstar. Because, if you look at my library, Starfield, 2,384 hours. Grand Theft Auto, 2,083 hours. It's like, it's a 15% larger number for Starfield. I don't know how long I'm going to continue doing this video. It's been 3 fucking hours, and I don't know why I'm still doing it. I don't know why my camera has trouble focusing. Fucking retarded camera. I should I should address that I just said the R word. Once upon a time, I was in a store with my son, my youngest son, and he was acting stupid, and I said, "Don't be a retard." And a woman started raising hell with me and pointing to her son that was with her at the store, who had Down syndrome. He was a Down syndrome disabled, developmentally disabled person. DSDD is what they call it. And he did this thing. There's this thing that people do where he had one arm down very straight and the other down. He had the other kind of holding just under his elbow, and he was looking to the side and down. He's doing like this. Do they call it Down syndrome because they look down? Is that? I don't think it is. It's probably like the name of somebody, but he was looking down, and she said, "How dare you use that word? Don't say that word. Here's my son right here." And I said, "Well, what's his name?" And she said, "What?" I said, "What's his name?" And she paused way too long. But she told me his name, which I don't remember. And I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, "Hey," and I said his name. I don't remember what his name was. Like Barry. "Hey, Barry, does it bother you when I call my son a retard?" And he laughed, that particular laugh that people have. He went, "Ha!" Like he knows there's a ha sound. That's how you're supposed to laugh. But he doesn't know it's ha 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 ha. He just went, "Ha!" And when he was done making that noise, he said, "I'm not retarded. I have Downs." Like he thought I was the stupid one. I feel like the people who complain. I feel like the people. I feel like the people are people complaining. I feel like the people who are complaining about that. I feel like the people about that. Don't really view the people they think we're offending as real people. Back in my teen years, I worked on a psych ward at Springwood Institution in what is it, Chantilly, Virginia, and I worked on the adult Down syndrome unit. And the reason I worked on the adult Down syndrome unit is because they had one guy that was totally intractable. He was the hardest person to deal with ever. And as they were taking me through the whole facility, telling me what every place was and what kind of people were there, this particular guy, I don't know why, but as I was walking past, he grabbed me as I was walking past. And he looked up at me and he said, "You're a holy man." He's a guy in an adult Down syndrome developmental disability unit. He is a DSDD patient. I don't know, but apparently he hates everybody. So they put me on the unit because theoretically I could deal with him, which I could. And the thing about people with Downs is, when you say the R word, when you think about somebody, when you say the R word and you think about the kind of person that means, it's not them. They're different. But on some level, they're smarter than you. Which is confusing. They're not dumb, they're different. They have different values, they have different priorities, they think different things are important. They notice different things, they mention different things. And it changes your view of the world. If you have any opportunity to work with adult DSDD patients, please take it. It will change everything you think about the world. I don't know why I'm still recording this. It's been over 3 hours. Why am I... Oh yeah, it's because I'm drunk. Yeah. I don't know that I have anything coherent to say anymore. But at the same time, I wonder if the things I have to say now aren't potentially more coherent than anything I've said ever. It's very frustrating. It's very difficult. Like I said somewhat earlier, you intoxicate yourself, you use different brain pathways, you think differently. And thinking differently leads you to different conclusions, it leads you to different ideas, and maybe you continue them when you're sober. Maybe you don't, but maybe you do. I think this stuff when I'm sober, I just don't say it. Like, if you're taught racism, the racism is always there, but you learn to fence it off. You learn to fence it into a little area. I'm going to tell a story. I've never told this on a video. On some level, I'm drunk and not responsible for what I say. And on another level, I recognize that I'm drunk enough not to be held responsible for what I say, so I can say things I would never say otherwise. I'm going to tell a horribly racist story. I promise you it doesn't end badly. But, as I was growing up, I was taught that black people are not really people. They're a type of monkey that can be taught to mimic human speech and behavior. This was mostly from my grandfather. My grandfather taught me this. He was born in the 1920s. This is really long ago. So when I was about 9 years old, it's like 1978, 1979, somewhere around there, maybe 1980, I think it was 79, a black family moved into our neighborhood. We had never had one before. So this black family moved into our neighborhood. And shortly after they moved in, I was on my way back home from school. And there was a little black boy sitting in front of his house. He was 9, 10 years old, same age as me. Just sitting in front of his house alone. Nobody was talking to him. Nobody was playing with him. Now, I had been taught as a child that black people are a type of monkey, that they're not actually human, that they are animals who can be taught to mimic human speech and human behavior and human activity. This is a terribly, terribly racist thing to be taught. It's really, really awful. But I'm on my way from school, and there's a black child my age sitting in front of his house. And I have been taught my whole life that black people are monkeys. And I thought, why isn't anybody playing with the monkey? I know how racist this is. I know how awful this is. I understand that today, in 1979, I did not understand how fucking racist and awful it was. So I went over because it's a monkey. Go play with the monkey. Who doesn't want to play with the monkey? And I went over to this black kid sitting on his steps, and I said, "Hi." And he looked up. They say the eyes are the windows of the soul. And the fact of the matter is, the moment that my 9-year-old eyes met Barry's 9-year-old eyes, I saw the soul in those eyes. And I knew Barry was not a monkey. Barry was a human being. Barry was just like me. And that changed my world. Not just my life, but my world. Just that moment when I was exposed to a black child my own age, and I looked in his eyes, I'd been to the zoo, I'd seen monkeys, I'd looked in the eyes of monkeys. Barry was not a monkey. Barry was a person. He was a person just like me. He was a person with hopes and fears and dreams. That was very difficult for me as a child who had been raised very, very racist, because I had to confront the reality that all the people who had taught me about the world were wrong, that they were stupid, that they had never looked in the eyes of a black person and perceived the soul that a black person has every bit as much as a white person. I have spent my life trying to exterminate the behaviors of being taught to be a racist. I will never be 100% convinced that I have won that particular battle. But it took seconds to look in that boy's eyes and know that all those people were full of shit. They didn't know what they were talking about. They had never met a black person. They had never talked to a black person. They never interacted with a black person. Like, no, those people are monkeys. They're not people. They're not monkeys. They're people. I'm drunk. Pardon me if I misspeak here and there. Barry was my best friend for like 2 years. I loved him like a brother. It occurs to me that sounds kind of racist, but Barry was awesome. I really liked him. He was a close friend. He was a good friend. He was a better friend than, I don't remember his name. There was this one kid, there's this one white kid everybody fucking loved. Charlie. Everybody fucking loved Charlie. And they loved him because his mother worked at Children's Palace. And because his mother worked at Children's Palace, he got all of the latest Star Wars toys before anybody else did. I was a close second because my grandparents, very German, my grandparents spent a lot of money making sure that I had the latest and greatest Star Wars toys. They did not work at Children's Palace. They did not get an employee discount. They just worked like hell and spent their money on me for no good reason. I need another beer. What is that, number 9? I'll be right back. I have had that song Into the Thick of It from the Backyardigans running through my head for days because the Backyardigans is an absolutely fucking incredible show for children. I was not a child when it ran, but my children were. Every once in a while, people go, hey, how come you're not into Pokemon? Because Pokemon came out when I was 30. And it's fairly rare that anybody goes, well, you were 30 when Kim Possible came out. Don't ask me about that. The answers to those questions are substantially creepier. Yeah, that's we don't talk about that. Anyway, again, if you are still here, it is almost 3.5 hours into this video. Why? Why are you here? Why do you care this much what I have to say? Are you just waiting to see if I say something really embarrassing when I'm drunk? I've talked a lot about racism. I think that qualifies. Barry was a really good friend. I liked Barry. He was the first black person my age I had ever met. And when I learned about black people, it's fairly small, but it's really, really important. You know what I learned about black people from hanging out with Barry? Nothing. Because they're not different. It's not the color of your skin that makes the way you live different, that makes the way you act different. Barry acted in every respect like a white person. Because he acted like a person. White people act like a person. Black people act like a person. It's a person. That's it. Every pattern I've noticed among people of a given race, I don't think is really among the race. I think it's among the people I know. I may know Mexican people who do XYZ, but that doesn't mean Mexicans do XYZ. Because there's a whole fucking world full of Mexicans I don't know. And I recognize that. I recognize that people are different. Man, this is a thoroughly ill-advised line of discussion. I have never found that there is a substantial difference in morals or ethics among any member of any race, religion, ethnicity, creed, people of any age, people of any color. A human being of any particular collection of these things is equally likely to be moral or immoral, ethical or unethical, legal or illegal, decent or indecent. I have never found any statistical correlation for anything ever. It is the most productive, it is the most useful, it is the most reliable to think of human beings as human beings. Which leads me to immediately question gender. Why do we give a shit? Why does it matter? You got male sports, you got female sports, you got men's this and women's that, whatever the fuck. For the overwhelming majority of men's sports, the men do much better than the women. The women's sports, the men aren't anywhere near that area. The women could never beat men. But at the same time, there's a collection of women's sports that men can't fucking do. We judge men and women differently. If we judged everyone in the same criteria, feels like women would win. Could be wrong, but it feels that way. You're talking about professional athletes, it's one thing, and then you're talking about general people. Trans women are women, trans men are men. Why? The fuck does women mean? The fuck does men mean? I don't have a good answer for that. They do. I said I'm a man, so I'm a man. Well, that's how it worked for me, too. I said I was a man, and I'm a man. Okay. I said I was a woman, I'm a woman. Oh, well, I've never done that, but by analogy, I said I'm a man, I'm a man. You said you're a woman, you're a woman. I don't have a reasonable objection to that. I just don't. Like, call people what they want to be called, name people what they want to be named. The name of a thing is not the thing. Trans women are women. But they don't have these particular specifications. The name of a thing is not the thing. Women is the name of the thing. The thing that clearly doesn't mean those specifications. Those specifications, that's something else. That's something else you're trying to talk about. But it used to be women. Well, it's not anymore. We changed it. That's how language works. We change shit. Trans men are men. Trans women are women. Call people what they want to be called. How fucking hard is that? I don't really give a shit if they're born that way, because, bluntly speaking, if you're born that way, you stand around and go, what? What? You're telling me I'm a different thing? I don't think I am. Oh, you're showing me that I could be this, that some people are this thing, some people are that thing. I'm this thing. Kind of feel like I'm more that thing. Look, I'm better at that thing than I am at this thing. What do you mean, no? I'm put in mind of Klaus Nomi. If they saw my face, could I still take a bow? Would they know me now? Klaus Nomi was a man, a gay man, who sang soprano. They told him, you can't sing soprano, you have to sing tenor. He said, I want to sing soprano. They said, well, you can't because you're a boy. Klaus Nomi was tremendously influential to me because back in the 1980s, like, it would have had to be 1980. He sang that song. If they saw my face, could I still take a bow? Would they know me, know me, know me now? And his name was Nomi. What a cute pun. And there was this middle part, there was this little bridge where he said, now I'm all alone. It's like some kind of test. I felt such kinship with Klaus. He was one of the first he was one of the first really prominent figures to die of AIDS. He's one of the earliest. And I saw him do his Know Me song. That they saw my face when they let me take a bow. I saw him do that song on a show back in 1980. I had just come back from Italy. I had been in Europe for years, and we had just moved back from Italy to Ohio, and we had cable for the first time. We'd never had cable before. Cable wasn't even a thing. And I saw Klaus Know Me singing his song, "If They Saw My Face, Could I Take a Bow?" And that resonated with me. But it was decades before I saw him again. It was literally just earlier this year. And I went, that's the guy. That's the guy I saw in that show once upon a time. Once upon a time I saw that show. That's the guy right there. And he's dead. I don't... He felt like me. Not Know Me song. Know Me song wasn't the song where he felt like me. The song where he felt like me was Simple Plan. Or Simple Man, rather. I'm just a simple man. And I do the things that a simple man can. I loved the rhyme scheme of it. It was so well done. Love is a simple thought, like a thief who got caught, like the things you're not taught. The lyrics were brilliant. He was so good. And he wore the makeup, and I always wore the makeup. It was... I always felt like the wise, like the brilliant wore makeup. Mime makeup, clown makeup. That's why I became a juggalo. Because the insane clown posse was so insane clown pussy. That's my favorite kind. The insane clown pussy, that's the best pussy. But the insane clown posse, I was fucking this slut up in her dirty ass. Threw the rubber out the window as you drove past. Funny thing, I ain't see you standing on the grass and it fucking stuck to your mustache in your face. I did the juggalo thing. I became the juggalo thing because Colin said it was good marketing. Colin doesn't like me anymore. Colin doesn't like me anymore because when I met him in person and I bought him a beer, he said, it's time for me to go have a chat with my son. And I was very proud of him for that. Yes, you go have a chat with your son. I am going to go to the other half of the hotel and hook up with anime chicks. Colin was offended that he went off to talk to his son, and I went off to fuck a stranger. A stranger in a maid costume, as luck would have it. We talked about that afterward. He was just like... So I went and had a conversation with my son. I guess you went off and did something different. Yeah, I went off and hooked up. Yeah, well, did you hook up with it? And we were talking about it. And at some point, the question came up of how old she was. I don't fucking know. I didn't ask. I judge by bush, okay? It's just like once you pull it out, you know, it's the bush that means something to me. I'm looking for that jungle bush. I'm looking for the I'm looking for it to be everywhere. I'm looking for it to be like the pantsuit cannot contain it. That's what I'm looking for. And it was fairly clear the whole time I was at that convention in 2015. The whole time I was there, you know what? Let me... Yeah. Hanadoki-kan, Gur Arg, the Whedonverse guys, yeah. Yeah. That's where I was. Mostly to get laid. And I did. A lot. And Colin was fairly offended because, in his mind, the adults were at the marketing convention and the people at the anime convention were children. He thought I was trying to hook up with anime kids. Granted, I was in my 40s and most of them were in their 20s. But they're not kids. I did meet some kids, but I didn't fuck them. I don't know if I want to open this subject. Sometimes it's illegal is a good enough reason not to do it, even if you want to. And in no case is it ever that great a hardship. If you own a firearm and you have a bank account, you have gone to the bank and you have dealt with the tellers there, and as a firearm owner, it has been a possibility that you could go get your firearm and head back to the bank and rob it. But you don't. In the same way, I meet plenty of people under 18 that I go, oh yeah, I would date this person if they were old enough that they were legal. But they're not. So I don't. We expect human beings to do this all day, every day. We really do. It's just like every day you walk past people on the street that you think are attractive. that you think are sexually appealing. And you don't take any action on that because they're strangers. Oh, do you work with somebody that you think is sexually appealing, but they're married? You don't say anything. You don't do anything because they're married. You're attracted to a particular girl in your office. She has a boyfriend. You don't do anything because she has a boyfriend. You're attracted to a girl in your office like Brittany Knight in 2006. Oh, God, I would have hit that so hard. But she was not interested. Here we are, almost 20 years later. Oh my God, did I want you? Oh my God, would I have taken that opportunity? But you didn't want it. It was not available. This was not an option. That's totally cool. Human beings do that all the time. The idea that it is somehow intractable for a guy who thinks, I don't know, 10-year-olds are hot. Nobody in their right mind thinks 10-year-olds are hot. That's way too fucking young, and you're really fucking creepy. But if you do think 10-year-olds are hot, if that's you, if that's the thing that you think, you know to keep it to yourself, right? Because you're not a fucking moron. You know to keep it to yourself for several years, right? Because you're not a fucking moron. And if you think an 18-year-old is kind of hot, now you can talk to him. Don't ever tell them you thought they were hot when they were 15. No. They will never like that. They will never feel like that's a good thing. A shocking amount of the human experience is okay as long as you shut the fuck up. Like me talking about racism. I should have shut the fuck up, but I didn't. I gotta pee. I'll be right back. Hey, apropos of nothing, you know what really bothers me more than anything else about Starfield is that I want to fuck the living shit out of Wang Li. Oh my God, that chick is hot. Fucking hell. So you know what else bothers me is like in Skyrim, Naranye. Why can't you marry Naranye? That's not fair. She's fucking hot. It's like you're back there at the enchanting table, and she's like, "Did you want something?" And then you turn around, and she's like holding her butt out in front of your face. She's like, "Just be quick about it." And it's like, I mean, it feels like she's saying, "Go ahead and mount me and cream pie this elven shit." I don't know. It's been years I've been saying, Naranye is really hot. Everybody's like, what? What the fuck is wrong with you? I don't know, man. I really like Naranye. She's fucking hot. I don't know what else to say, man. It's like look at Naranye. Go into Skyrim and head over to Windhelm and walk into the market square. You walk all the way over. There's an enchanting table way in the back. Just walk all the way over, and there's that high elf chick running the stall. Look at her. I'd hit that. I'd hit that so fucking hard, I swear to God. I would ride that shit in next week. Anyway, it's a little different in Starfield. In Starfield, you go to Neon, you go to the underbelly, and you go over to, there's these dumpsters near Jennerdyne. And there's this chick, Huang Le. It looks like Huang Le, but I'm pretty sure I have a vague understanding of Mandarin Chinese. So I'm pretty sure it's Huang Le. But anyway, yeah, she calls me Chief all the time. She told me I was a class bass. I don't know. Nobody's ever told me that before. It's really cute. I feel like she needs to ride my cock. I just really do. I really like her. She's really pretty and she's really sweet and I really like her, and she's so positive about everything. She's like, oh, everything will be okay. Yeah, I've been working. I never had any place to sleep before. I don't have any place to sleep now, but later, that's a work in progress. I'm working on it. And then you did the one mission for the guy who's in Ryujin Tower, and you find out what her you get her spreadsheets where she's tracking her income and her outflow, and you see how hard she's working and how little progress she's making. I have 500,000 credits. You're working so hard, I barely do anything. You're trying really hard, and you're really pretty, and you're really sweet, and you're really nice, and like as a human being, Wang Le is like she's so sweet and she's so precious, and I like her so much. And I'm such a fucking sucker. I want to help you if you're legitimately in trouble. I want to. I want you to. I want you to hold your arm across my chest and go, oh no, I need help. I need my wings. I need my chest. I need my hips and my stuffing. I'll give you everything. I don't mind. It doesn't matter. And here, I'll buy you a sleep crate. I'll buy you a sleep crate here in Neon, and you can stay there. You know what? You can come to my ship. You can stay in my ship. I'm a first-class citizen in New Atlantis. I have the big penthouse over in New Atlantis. You know what? I have enough money. I can buy the penthouse at the Aurora place. You know, I can buy like the biggest apartment in the world. I have a dream house on the soy. I really do. I can set that up. I can have. Do you want an apartment? Do you want an apartment in Aquila City? I can buy that. I can buy everything. I can buy all of it. But you're unhappy, and I like you. Let me help you. Let me. That's really the thing with Huang is I want to help her and I can't help her, and there's nothing I can do to help her. And it's the same with Niranya. I can't help her. I can't do anything to help her, but fundamentally with Niranya is just like, yeah, I want to fuck Naranya's brains out. That's what I want to do with Niranya. I want to fuck her in the next Tuesday. That's what I want there. It's a little bit different with Huang Ye. No, it's not. I want to fuck her in the next Tuesday too. Yeah. That's what I want from Hong Lei. I want her to fuck me in her next Tuesday. It's God. It's almost 4 hours. Shit. This video is way too long. It's far too fucking stupid. Do the little YouTube dance. Like, comment, subscribe. All of that happy horse shit. Tell Wong Lei to call me. I'll fuck her brains out.